Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Out of Forgiveness from our very own subreddit r/Mark Narrations. Don't forget to share your own stories over there as well. It does have an update to it. But just give you a quick trigger warning before we do get into it, and you'll get it from the title anyway. It does talk about bullying and trauma from bullying as well, so if you do want to skip it, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It says, my childhood bully sent me a letter asking for forgiveness after 15 years. I, 32 female, never thought I'd be typing this out. But yesterday, I received a letter that's completely thrown me. For context, when I was in secondary school, about year 9 to year 13, for those not in the UK, I was relentlessly bullied by this one girl. I will call her Sarah. Sarah made my teen years absolute hell. It started with little things, snide comments about my clothes, my hair, my accent. I'd moved from northern England to a town near London, and apparently that was hilarious to her. But it escalated quickly. She would accidentally knock my books off my desk. She'd whisper horrible things when teachers weren't looking and spread rumors about me sleeping around. I hadn't even had my first kiss yet. She once poured juice all over my coursework the day before it was due. I had to stay up all night redoing it, and I still got a rubbish mark. The worst part was the isolation. Sarah was popular, and she made sure everyone knew that being friends with me was social suicide. I'd walk into the canteen and watch tables of girls suddenly go quiet and then burst into laughter after I'd passed. I'd had a couple of friends who stuck by me, but even they would sometimes disappear when Sarah was around because they were scared of becoming targets too. I tried telling teachers, but Sarah was clever. She was a model student when adults were watching, always volunteering for things, getting good marks, being super helpful. When I complained, it was always my word against hers, and most teachers clearly thought I was just being oversensitive or making it up for attention. I remember one parents' evening when my English teacher told my mum I needed to focus more because my grades were slipping. I couldn't exactly explain that I couldn't focus because I was spending the entire lesson worrying about what Sarah would do next. The whole thing completely destroyed my confidence. I stopped putting my hand up in class, even when I knew the answer. I started having panic attacks before school. My grades tanked, and I ended up with a much worse A-level than I should have. I was predicted all A's and B's, and ended up with mostly C's. It affected my university choices, and honestly, probably my entire career path. Fast forward to now. I'm 32. I've built a decent life for myself. I still struggle with anxiety and confidence issues in social situations. And I'm not putting that all down to the bullying, but I've had therapy. I've got good friends, a job I mostly enjoy. I thought I'd moved on from all of that teen drama as best as I could. Then yesterday, I get home from work to find a letter with handwriting I didn't recognize. I open it and it's from Sarah. I literally felt sick to my stomach seeing her name. Just sick. The gist of the letter is that she's been in therapy for the past year. The therapist suggested she make amends for past behavior that she regrets. She wrote that she's been haunted by how she treated me and others in school. She apologized for everything, mentioning specific incidents I'd actually forgotten about, and said she understands if I hate her forever, but that she hopes I can find it in myself to forgive her because she can't move forward without my forgiveness. She even suggested we could meet for coffee to talk things through properly. What's really weird is how she got my address. I've moved several times since school. I'm not on social media much, and we have zero mutual friends as far as I know. She said something vague about asking around, which frankly creeps me out a bit. Here's the thing. I don't think I can forgive her. Maybe that makes me a terrible person. But every time I think about what she put me through, I just feel angry. The idea of meeting her face to face makes me physically ill. At the same time, a tiny part of me is curious about why she did what she did. And I wonder if talking to her might give me some kind of closure. Maybe I could question her. Maybe telling her how it made me feel would make me feel better, but then is doing that selfish in itself? But honestly, I think this letter is more about making her feel better than it is about me. Why should I have to dredge up all that pain just so she can tick a box in her therapy homework and move forward? I spent years trying to move past all of this, and now she's thrown it all back in my face again. Not that it ever goes away, as some of you may know, but having it just come out of nowhere like this is just shit. I'm completely conflicted. Part of me wants to write back telling her exactly what her bullying did to me, possibly meet her to tell her in person, in excruciating detail. Another part of me wants to just ignore it and pretend it never arrived. And a tiny part of me wonders if meeting her might actually help me somehow. Though I can't imagine how. What would you do in my situation? Am I a horrible person for not wanting to forgive her? Should I meet her? Should I write back? Or should I just throw the letter away and carry on with my life? Mr. Vacant says to this one, "You hit the nail on the head when you said this is all about her feeling better about herself and not a real concern about how you are. If you think you'd feel better throwing a letter in the bin and moving on with your life, do that. If it'd make you feel better to write a reply telling her to go fuck herself, I help you draft and edit said letter." You owe her nothing. Do what you need. The world stopped revolving around Sarah a long time ago. Usual Canary says, "Petty me?" Opie replies with a single sentence saying, "I don't accept your apology and you are not forgiven. Please do not contact me again or I will be filing a harassment suit." Christian me? Quietly forgive and move on as if the letter does not exist. Neutral me? Just ignore. Nothing more. Just ignore. OP, it's your choice. Not the arsehole. I am a petty arsehole though. I feel you should know that. Opening ad says, I would write her back and tell her all of this. Tell her about how it made you feel during school, how it affected your grades and your career choices. Tell her about the money and time it took you to get your life back on track. Tell her that even her sending a letter brought up terrible memories and it did more harm than good. Tell her that you don't forgive her. But a simple apology will not absolve her of all the harm she did to you. Tell her if she really needs forgiveness, that she needs to pay it forward and make changes in her life, that she needs to help other people for atonement. Ask her to not contact you anymore, and she'll have to deal with her feelings over this on her own. Melted Welly says, personally, I would throw a letter in the bin and pour some soggy, stinky old food over it and then move on with my life. What answer to any of your questions could make your life any better right now? Nothing she could say will change how she treated you back then and how it impacted your life going forward. You've worked hard to build the life you have now. Do not let her pull you back down. After everything she did, she's still asking you to give her something. Your forgiveness. If she had been truly sorry and reached out and said, "I am very sorry I did what I did. I apologize and expect nothing from you," perhaps it'd feel more genuine. This feels like, "I said sorry, now I'm entitled to your forgiveness." Can you reach out to your therapist for a session to discuss this? Their input could be helpful to you. Good replies that and says, I totally agree. My wife had a similar situation. Not with a bully, but with a boss. He undermined her, pointed out faults that weren't there, and basically made her life hell. She ended up leaving, but it affected her quite badly and really knocked her confidence. About 10 years after she left there, he managed to trace us and asked if he could come and see her. When he arrived, he apologized profusely for how he treated her, said his business was failing, and instead of talking to her about it, he acted really badly. He was very sincere in his apology and never asked for forgiveness. The only thing he did ask for was our bank details and ended up making a substantial deposit, with an accompanying letter saying this is to make up for what she lost, and then some, by being forced to leave. When someone is genuinely sorry, their apology is about what they did to you, not how they can make themselves feel better. Now, all of the comments on this one are absolutely valid to me. It's all about personal choice on this one and how it's going to make you feel. It's not about Sarah, it's about how it's going to make you feel in the end. I totally get the comment saying, what are you going to get out of this in the end, honestly? Even if she gives her reasons for why she did what she did, it's not going to change the past. And if you're anything like me, it's not going to make you change how you feel about Sarah as well. For anyone that's new here, I myself was bullied in the last years of our high school here, pretty severely, to some very, very dark thoughts. And we've covered stories about bullies before, and I always express my opinions on them in the way how I feel like I would deal with it. And obviously I think about what would I do if my bully was to approach me and wanted to talk to me. And again, this is only from my perspective. I'm not saying OP should do this or anything because I think it's very, very personal. And I totally agree with the comments about not meeting them at the same time. But for me, that curious side of me, like OP mentioned, I would still want to see that person. I wouldn't be forgiving them. That's 100% sure. That would never, ever happen. There's just this curious small part of me I would want to see and express how they made me feel. Knowing full well that there's nothing that's going to change my view on this whole thing. There's going to be no moment where it's going to go, oh, that's made me feel so much better. I don't think it will. I think even if there's the smallest chance that's going to make you feel like crap afterwards, just do not do it. Do not give that person any time. Do not disrupt your life for someone who's been absolutely awful to you in the past. Anyway, firstly, OP came in with an edit on that post replying to the comments. They said, "Hi all, thanks for so many replies. I'm a bit overwhelmed if I'm honest. Lots of people saying don't meet her. Others telling me do what I feel is right. I've been going back and forth in my head myself. And a couple of private messages also telling me how manipulative it felt that she said she can't move forward without my forgiveness, and I think she's going to be very disappointed." Yeah, just jumping on that as well. That felt super manipulative to me, that she can't move forward without your forgiveness. That's just such a shitty thing to say. But anyway, OP continued their edit saying, "People also said I should talk to my therapist, but the wait time is fairly long, so wouldn't happen anytime soon. And I just need this issue out of my head sooner rather than later. I've debated in my head how I would feel from either just leaving it and carrying on or meeting her and confronting her. I like the idea of meeting her just to hear what she had to say. Like commenters said, I don't have to forgive her, and she won't be getting that from me. I also know a lot of people are against that too, but I kind of feel that way currently. Still 50-50, I think. Thanks again for all your lovely comments and messages, and I'm sorry to hear what you've been through too. It's heartbreaking." So sometime later, OP came in with their update and said, "First, thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. I was overwhelmed by the responses and how many of you shared similar experiences. Oh, and I found out how Sarah got my address. My own mother gave it to her. Yeah. Apparently Sarah tracked down my parents through a mutual acquaintance, showed up at their door with some sob story, and my mum just handed over my contact details without even asking me first. When I confronted her about it, she said Sarah seemed really sorry and looked like she had been through a lot. My mum had always had this weird thing about Sarah actually. She thought she was such a nice girl because Sarah would put on this perfect angel act whenever parents were around. Even when I was crying every night about the bullying, Mum would say things like, 'But she seems so lovely. Are you sure you're not being a bit sensitive?' So I guess I shouldn't be surprised. But it still feels like a betrayal. That's a whole other issue I'll deal with later though. After reading through your comments and thinking about it for a few days, I decided to meet with Sarah. Not to forgive her, I was clear with myself about that, but just to hear what she had to say. Maybe to get some answers. I suggested meeting at a coffee shop near my work rather than anywhere near my home. Still creeped out about how she got my address, to be honest. I chose a time when I knew the place wouldn't be too busy and made sure my friend knew where I was going and would call me halfway through with an emergency if I needed an escape route. When I walked in, Sarah was already there. She looked different. Her hair was shorter. She seemed smaller somehow. She spotted me and immediately stood up with this big smile and went to hug me. I took a step back and just said, "I'd rather not." And she looked a bit shocked but nodded and we sat down. I'd already decided I wouldn't buy anything. Didn't want to be stuck there longer than necessary. Sarah had a massive fancy coffee in front of her and kept fidgeting with a cup while she talked. And talk she did. Almost immediately, she launched into this long story about her life since school. Apparently her parents got divorced right after sixth form, which I knew nothing about. Her dad became an alcoholic, she struggled through university, had an abusive boyfriend, developed anxiety and depression, lost her job during COVID, and finally started therapy last year when she hit rock bottom. She kept saying things like, "I was so broken inside back then. and I was just projecting my own insecurities onto you, and I was jealous of how smart you were. At one point she actually said, when you're hurting, you want to make others hurt too, you know? The thing is, she never once asked me how I was. Not once. She didn't ask what effect her bullying had on me or what my life had been like. She didn't ask if I struggled with the aftermath or how long it took me to recover. It was all about her journey, her pain, her growth. After about 25 minutes of this one-sided conversation, something just clicked in my head. I stood up, cutting her off mid-sentence about how a therapist had helped her see her pattern of toxic relationships. Sarah, I said, I came here to listen to you, and I have, but this entire conversation has been about you. Your pain, your journey, your therapy. Just like in school, I'm still just an object in your story. You're not here for me. You're here for you, and I don't have to sit here and help you feel better about what you did. Her face just crumpled. She started saying something about how sorry she was and how she didn't mean to make it about herself. But I was already grabbing my coat. I hope your therapy helps you, I said. I genuinely do. But my forgiveness isn't something you're entitled to, and I'm not going to give it to you just so you can tick a box and move on. I've already moved on without your apology, and I continue to do so without giving you my forgiveness. And then I walked out. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely text my friend to cancel the emergency call. The weird thing is, I don't feel angry anymore, just sad. Sad for the terrified, miserable teenager I was. Sad for the confidence and opportunities I lost. Even a little sad for teenage Sarah, who was clearly dealing with her own issues in the worst possible way. But I also feel proud of myself for setting a boundary and walking away. The old me would have sat there nodding and smiling, maybe even told her it was all okay just to avoid conflict. Instead, I stood up for myself in a way I never could as a teenager. So, I suppose in a way, meeting Sarah did give me something valuable. Not forgiveness or closure exactly, but a chance to be the strong person I've become instead of the frightened girl she once knew. I probably won't be responding to her if she reaches out again. Some chapters are better left closed. Thanks again, Wafflers, for all your advice and your support. It really helped me prepare for this meeting and think clearly about what I wanted from it, which in the end wasn't forgiveness, but just to reclaim a bit of power she once had over me. Holy shit. What an amazing update. It really stuck out to me how you handled that meeting when Sarah was making it all about herself. You didn't just sit there. You called her out on it. That is absolutely huge growth. And again, you know, she was never entitled to your forgiveness. It did very, like some of the comments in that last one, especially what was mentioned before, the can't move forward without your forgiveness. It felt very much in some ways like she was trying to tick some kind of box. And like we said in this, maybe you was going to get nothing out of that meeting if you did turn up to it. You know, what can she give you? But something that I really felt as you were saying stuff is, you know, not closure from her, but just showing your own strength, confirmation of your own strength, your growth, which is just like absolutely amazing for me. The bloody onion ninja around here reading that is it's incredible. However, your mum in this, I can see there's a story in itself right there. It sounds like she wasn't too supportive as you was growing up, calling you sensitive for what you went through, crying every night because you were being bullied. Oh man, that is awful. And then just giving out your address willy-nilly like that so she can get in contact with you. So many red flags from her. But I'm pretty confident that you can handle it, especially when you said that's a whole other issue and I'll deal with that later though. Wow. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? What would you have done if you was in OP's position? Would you have met her? Would you not have? Would you have done something different? I know there are many of you out there, just like me as well, who have been through this experience. And I could see in the comments on that post on our own subreddit about people sharing their own experiences as well. And, you know, all I can say is I'm extremely sorry that you've also gone through that. And I truly wish you all healing in your own way. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you have your own story that you would like to share with us, please feel free to do so, r/Mark Narrations. You can create your own throwaway account quite easily and just drop it in there. But now, a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time, not just towards me, but towards the stories and each other down in the comments as well. It's always absolutely amazing. Remember what you done. You created our little community, and I'm just so thankful for it. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.